Yo, what's good? Duelist here again to do another deck profile breakdown for the regional of Lima. It was actually 320 duelists, which is pretty much the standard for like a big regional. Like I think Santa Clara was like around the same amount of people. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one, but regardless, let's get into Lima, Peru. This is a huge regional, and we do see a lot of fire this time around, unlike the last one, taking up 3 out of 8 top cut spots. Then we also see Voiceless Voice only with one other spot. Yeah, so every other deck is even in the top cut, but Fire Kings actually do get 3 spots. So let's go in, and we'll be starting with the last place deck and then moving our way to the winner. So we have Vanquish Soul. We have 3 Rosin. Anything cool about this deck? The ratios in Vanquish Soul lists have been very different. I've seen 1 Dr. Madlove, I've seen 3, I've also seen now 2. And then they're all running basically like 1 of this, and then 2 of the new fire. 3 Fenrir and Riseheart, I do like that package a lot. You can make Abyss Dweller with it. 3 Shifter, of course. Curry Kara, just another good fire that you could even like Small World. If your opponent doesn't use an Omni Negate, you can catch them off guard. Not as good as like using Small World for something like Lava Golem, but you need your normal summon in a deck like this, so makes sense. But I mean, I don't know, the most interesting thing about Curry Kara is like, if the Snake Eye decks aren't even running this level 1 fire that's broken, searchable, going second, like, then it's probably just not that great of a card, because the level, like, this deck in the Snake Eye deck is actually just broken too. The only thing that says that is kind of bad about it is it must be special summoned from your hand. So even if you summon it properly, you're still not going to be able to summon it again from the graveyard, because it does have a pretty broken unphase effect. And then for the non-engine going second, we have 3 Shifter, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Droll and Lockbird, and that's pretty much, oh, and 2 Bell. So 3, 4, 6, 9, 12 cards, excluding Fenrir, of course. And then basically all of them always play this 1, there can only be 1. If they could play 3, I bet they would. So for the extra deck, we are running a mini Zoo package and the Battle Unboxer just for a Zeus, get a big Zeus. And then we are running a bunch of Super Poly targets. Even though we are only running 2 Super Polys on the side, like, wow, your extra deck must not matter at all to justify doing this. Like, you're running 3, like, this is in the OCG, we have 3 Super Polys. So if you really wanted, you could, you know, at least side 3, you're playing 3 extra deck slots for 2 of, I don't know. And then we're siding Vanquish Soul Dust Devil. That's interesting. I'm not sure if this used to be in the main. I would assume during cash format, at least, this definitely was in the main. Maybe they just stopped maining it. Definitely appears so. Oh yeah, they all just play the trap over that now. So it makes sense you would side the Book of Moon. Zombie Worlds, so 2 Nibiru, 2 Zombie World, 2 Soul Release, and then, of course, 3 Evenly. Okay, and then let's get into Pearly, the deck that kind of has been underwhelming. I feel like Pearly's still really good, but, you know, people haven't been performing with it that well. The non-engine, we have 3 Ash, 3 Droll, 3 Neb, so that's 9, 3 Imperm, 12 out of 41. And we're running a lot of going first cards, so this is basically just all power with the 3 crossout designators and 1 Called by the Grave, for sure. The only links we play are Anima and SP Little Knight. Definitely remember seeing some play IP. I don't know, that's kind of what I didn't like about Pearly, is I don't feel like they can take advantage of SP Little Knight as much as the other decks did when it came out. Yeah, but they're still running, of course, 2 Zeus, Typhon, Downard, Slacker, and then the whole Pearly package. Then we have, for the side, 3 Bell, 1 Crow, 3 Cosmic, 2 Lightning Storm, tons of hate, no Feather Duster, 3 Dark Ruler, and 3 Summon Limit. I think Dark Ruler is actually a pretty good card in the side. If people are actually playing pure Snake Eye, not the Fire King variant. Because I don't think it's good versus the Fire King variant, but versus pure Snake Eye, when they're summoning 2 Omni Negates, it's like obviously just a +1. It's not like Manadium, where you have the counter trap Omni Negate and you can negate it, or Tier Laments with Crime. So we have the tier list. Tier, always just like a contender, like you never know. Still a really good deck for sure. Most of these variants I do see the same. They're running the Horus package, the Shyama, the Double Mally, Trivi Carmel. It's like all the same ratios. I feel like tier has definitely solidified more. No one's really running the like Luna Light package that I saw on DB, like, and for pretty much every match I played versus tier is only the Luna Light variant. It's interesting that like no one ever plays that in real life, or at least doesn't do well with it. The extra deck. I feel like this is a pretty standard extra deck. 3 Droll, 3 Ash, 1 Scattershot for Time, Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, 3 Droplet. I'm surprised I haven't seen more Droplets so far, looking in this format, because I think Droplet does hit a good amount of cards. Maybe the Vanquish Soul cards being more expensive is going to impact this, because Droplet is very powerful versus the Vanquish Soul deck. Then we have 3 Evenly Matched. I don't like Evenly, so I'm surprised I've seen it on 2 lists so far. And then the last deck out of top 8, Fire Kings. This variant is playing 3 Ash, 3 Drolls, 3 Imperm for going second. I'm assuming they only had 2 Bonfire and that's why they're doing this. For some decks, I could see you getting away with 2 Bonfire, but not when you're just running this much of the engine. Standard Fire King ratios, 3 Kieran, it's kind of notable, 3 Fenrir. I think this card sucks. I mean, I don't know. People are hype about it. Circle, I'm also not the biggest fan of Circle, but I do see where it comes up. And then I wonder if more people this format are going to actually run like Silvera. Because, I don't know, Silvera is a card when you first read it that it seems really, really broken. In practice, you don't want to draw like either of these cards. Obviously, if you go like Diabellstar, Black Witch, pitch this, but like that's so unlikely to happen where you're going to open both those cards. Especially in a build like this where we're only running 1 Black Witch. And then it's just like, it just takes up so many slots, like only 9 hand traps in this deck, like when you could be running basically 15 if you wanted. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really like this list. Extra deck, see the mandatory slots. So for pretty much negotiables, we're running Phoenix, a second Promethean Princess, the XYZ, and then pretty much everything else in this, I would say, is non-negotiable. So it's really like you have 3 free extra deck slots if you're playing Fire King, Snake Eye. Yeah, at least he's running Heat Soul. I don't know. I feel like some people are wild. They're cutting Heat Soul. Yeah. Then we have this card is so broken. I'm just so worried that I'm sleeping on something that like just takes advantage of this card, because it does foolish any fire monster. Like that's absurd in a card for, you know, that's searchable basically off Fire King Island. 2 Ghost Bell, or searchable off Fire King Island, but you would search Garunix and then you destroy this and then bam, you can foolish any fire in your deck when you use Garunix. I mean, that's crazy. 2 Ghost Bell, 3 Nib, 1 Scattershot, 2 Cosmic, 3 Dark Ruler, and then Anti-Spell as our flood of choice for going first. Definitely really good with the Diabellstar stuff. Anti-Spell also combos really well with Apo. If I were going to play Anti-Spell, if I was going first, post side with Anti-Spell, I'm always making Apo, hopefully for 4. So just something to know. And then we have Blue as our first deck in the top 4. This one's running the double thrust. I like the thrust in Flu. I'm not sure why you wouldn't run it, especially game 1. There's just so many good cards you want to search, and you actually have an engine trap that you play that's really good, and you have an even better non-engine trap, Floodgate and Harpy's Featherstorm. That's just absurd if you get hand trapped. Obviously, Imperm sucks though when that happens. We're running 2 Toucan. It's kind of interesting. We're not running the DD Crow for our free search ever. Extra deck don't matter. We're not maining Ash Blossom. I've not seen Ash Blossom in a lot of Flu mains. Instead, we're just running 3 Shifter. But I guess Flu kind of needs that extra power going second. And then you have the Ryza to help for sure. But all hand traps on the side, I just don't get why we would side all these hand traps when we're running these like blowout go second cards. Like, do we just want these blowout go second cards for game 1, then our opponent plays around them, and then we have all the hand traps? I guess that's the strategy. I kind of fuck with it. 1 Ultimate Slayer, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 2 Cosmic, 1 Evenly, and a third of the generic broken Floodgate. Not so generic. Kind of generic. You can summon any extra deck monster and that shit's live. Oh, and then we have Mr. Creativity. I saw a post in Zodiac. Homie was saying how creative this was because he couldn't actually... I hate not saying he couldn't afford, because it's not really about affording something. It's like, do you want to spend like fucking $1,200 on a deck? Like, be my guest. But homie did it with 500. Let's go. So he's running Jirak Olo, and it says you contribute this card to select one level 4 or lower Jirak monster in your graveyard, special summon that monster from your graveyard. But I don't think he runs any other ones. He just runs Miscellaneous Saurus, which can also special this, right? And it's just a level 1 fire that you can special off original. It can also be foolished off of, or well, Kieran can foolish the Miscellaneous Saurus. Then you can use this. Pretty broken, pretty cool for style points, especially when you're running like 2 Ponix. Get you to the island more. You're running 2 island plus a sanctuary, so that's kind of a lot of copies. For our hand traps and non-engine going second, we have 2 Bell, 3 Super Poly, 3 Talons, 2 Cosmic, because I think you can kind of include that. So that's 2, 5, 8, 10. It's pretty reasonable, more than the last guy. 3 Parallel Exceed. That's pretty cool because you can make the Pyro guy that just foolishes or adds a Pyro to your hand. And we got lots of Pyros with the Snake Eye cards for sure. Miscellaneous Saurus isn't a Pyro though. He's a dinosaur. Anything else? So like those 3 slots I mentioned, they have done more. And they're not playing some cards, but they are still saying like the Zealances combo is the most mandatory. And I am inclined to agree. But Baron, DeFlora, and Formula, I like this synchro because Savage Dragon, even when you're playing the pure deck, it really doesn't come up that much, only if you open up Black Witch. And I mean, Savage just isn't the coolest thing about Savage because it doesn't negate and destroy. The coolest thing about it is that you can use the Link Rebo that you put in your spell and trap zone as fodder for, any other Snake Eye card for original, like Magician Souls. That shit just kind of broken. Okay, and then we have 3 Lancey on the side. So he's doing this before Infernoid and Ritual Beast have come out, just because he wants to hit that juicy soul release. We have Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. We're running the 1 Snake Eye Smashing Ground for going second. Harpy's Feather Duster, 2 Lightning Storm, 2 Book of Eclipse, and 3 Summon Limit. So we are seeing a lot of Floodgate traps at 3 for going first. So maybe it's reasonable to side in those Cosmic Cyclones to hit these traps. There's 3 of them out of 5. Definitely could consider it. And then we have Voiceless Voice. So this deck I'm very intrigued by what people are going to decide to play. In the OCG is basically like 50-50. You're running Nadir Servant and Diviner, one or the other. Or maybe you're running both, or maybe you're running neither. I've seen those as well. But it's definitely more common that you run one or the other. All of these ratios, besides the Diviner, mandatory. I think you have to run 2 of this. You could run 1 Savaris, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Droll, 3 Nib, 3 Imperm. Bam, that's the magic number. 12 hand traps for going second. Love to see it. 3 Prosperity. This card's interesting, especially when you're running like 3 pre-prep. This is a lot of cards that make you susceptible to Droll, where I don't think this deck is that susceptible to Droll inherently. I think it can kind of play through Droll pretty well. And then for the extra, of course, we got 2 Dynamondo. If you play versus this deck, please hold Bell, because I don't know why. They do this play when they don't even have to. It's like, why do you need all this value, my guy? You could just not make Dynamondo and not auto lose the game if I main deck Bell, or called by even. So definitely would consider that. All these like Foolish Fusions, Chaos Angel is really good in this deck. Link Rebo, I mean, most of these cards aren't going to come up that much. Like Dynamondo is definitely going to come up the most. 2 DD Crow, 2 Ghost Bell, 2 Cosmic, 3 Super Poly, 3 Ultimate Slayer. So Ultimate Slayer making a little comeback during this regional. And then again, 3 Summon Limit. Because once you out their board, you break everything. It's like, oh my gosh, of course they have Summon Limit too. And then we have the winner, Fire King. So let's get into it. And their deck is, interestingly enough, the most expensive out of all of them. And he won the regional. So pay to win guaranteed, pay to win confirmed. We have 1 Garunix, 2 Black Witch, 2 Kieran. So actually, like I've said before, I don't think 3 Kieran is mandatory. It's actually one of the only cuttable cards, I would say, is like you could play 2 Kieran if you don't want to play 3, and then you could replace that third of Kieran with another starter like the second Black Witch. So I'm sure that's what he did. And we're running 41 cards, 3 Snake Eye Ash, Flameberg, Poplar, standard, 3 Ash, 2, so non-engine going second, 3 Ash, 2 Droll, 1 Bell. I kind of like this. I was even running before 2 Ash, 1 Bell, just because, you know, they're hard once per turns and they kind of function the same versus a lot of decks this format. So 3, 6, 8, 9, 11, 13. If you count, so basically 13 non-engine going second. I won't count Monster Reborn or Called By. We did decide to run this circle. We're only running 1 Sanctuary and 1 Island. I kind of like this a lot. Sometimes I just want, like, Island is also kind of like Black Witch in that it is a starter, in quotes. That's why I still like playing the Sanctuary. I don't think, like, sending it comes up that much, but I was just running the Fire King Island before, but I feel like that's too risky because people take advantage of that. You get hit by the one random player that's playing Ghost Ogre, and you're like, oh, wow, I guess I get blown out. You know, I never make Apo, but so that's really the only way they're going to blow me out is if I don't play the Sanctuary. But, you know, that's not realistic, and I wouldn't even use what I just said going forward in your deck building. Extra deck. So we're running the Garura and Mud Dragon. So and we have 2 Promethean Princess. So I'm already assuming they're not going to be playing the cards I mentioned before. Because, like I said, you pretty much have to run all of these cards. So all of these cards are mandatory. Besides the Princess, Mud Dragon, Garura. You know, they could be Phoenix. They could be pretty much like a lot. They could be Selene Access Code. You know, they could be a lot of cards. And then for the side, a lot of people doing this, they're running the Sprite Sprint for time. And this Volcanic Rimfire, I'm sure this is another card that is a time card. It's a Pyro, so you can search it off Bonfire or Ash because it's a level 1 fire. You have Original, so a lot of good goodies. And then you also have Scatter Shot for the Sprint, Win in Time, Win in Time, Win in Time, Ghost Bell, 2 Dogwood. I wonder how much this came up. I would love to know because I'm definitely considering this card. I feel like people are going to be slow playing out the ass because that's what's been happening to me on DB. Like, everyone takes forever to do their combo. So I expect a lot of Game 1 matches for these first few events at the UDS and YCS Las Vegas and YCS Costa Rica. 2 Lancia, 1 Phantasme. I don't like this card. I've went over that before. And then we're running 2 Anti-Spell as our Floodgate going first of choice. So this is a pretty good regional. Huge regional. Definitely worth checking out. I hope you check out my next video, which is probably going to be another regional breakdown. I want to do as many regional breakdowns as possible. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate it so much. And have a great day, Duelists. Peace.